Tá taithínam líon ag na Gael an imirce gan ráha. Ach tá grúpa amháindíobh seo gur beag a higamid fuatha. Iad fé cheilt sa star leis na glúnta, aistrithe in aige dala 350 bliain ó hin ag Cromwell. Irs me dearúta atá anta de na polasathe cruálacha a bhí aige in éireann, a chrise muic le slad chruthadátha is 60 Ach, ceir míle agéin, mar an na slucht a gcónaí, beobacht is scartha an sel. Chun teachtartha, caithimid féchans leistír den drach sin a dugamid párthas. Barbados, Ilan dríochta is saolaíocht na Gael. Gach gíre, éilíonn na mílte éireann ag an ar thóir na gréine agus rum punch nuá. Ceafá go raibh rudair le, dar meile amach.
It's an interesting thing that even today, if you ask somebody, what would you do if you win the lotto, the first place that will come out is Barbados. So Barbados is somewhere in the folk memory here in Ireland in a way that's unusual. I mean, they'd never say the Seychelles or Jamaica or hundreds of other islands that are 10 times the size of Barbados.
Ach má glúis míad isteach ón drá agus na hóstáin, tá eisberas éarnach eile ar fadróin. Trasníonn tranglam de bhóthraíní beaga an Tileán réig choréal seo, trí foróiste i tuaithe St. James agus St. Thomas I dró na farraigí fiáine ar chósta St. John. Tá iarthar ina láin a thug an aig ar an Atlantic, corrigach agus gan trócaire. Is anamh a hagan trasóirí éarnacha mach an seo, cé go bhfuil áileacht agus úntas ag bhaint leis. Seo an deangan dearnach ag daoine a bhí scape trá ar fud Barbados. Daoine a éiteach dá digadí sé, fréimhe a sinsear a leanúnta reis go héireann, Alban agus iarthar hasna, a bhormhór síalrithe ón drama d'Astrid Cromwell gan trócaire. Agus don mbeagán chuairteoirí éarnach a chasan leo, tá an aigeanna agus an gáhanna an chasúil ó siúd a eicfá sa bhaile.
My family came as slaves, white slaves. That's all I know. They worked in the plantations.
People today talking about slavery, the Africans and things, but we also, the white people, some of us, was in slavery too.
Back in the years of slavery, they brought the whites in so to work on plantation, right? But they couldn't really manage the sun. And that's how I think that's how they get the name of the red legs, right? Because the sun scorched them, like, burn them up.
I don't remember where the lady came from, but I remember she looked at me and she asked me, "You're from Barbados?" I say, "Yes, I was born here." She said, "You know, it's strange, you don't look so, you don't sound like a Bajan." I said, "Well, I can't do anything about that, because I'm a Bajan by birth."
Pobal dar an Gaelta as éireann, beo bocht fé ghrian na Caribe. Ach, cén fá nach bhfuil níos mó ólais a gcuingartha.
Well, istáin go raibh beag an tuiscin ag muintir na hÉireann imirce roimh an Gorta Mór. Hiagmuid go maith ceir de hála in dhéon Gorta Mór ach roimh sin bhí na 100 míle éarnach a ghimeachtas an tír seo. San 7 stéag, d'imigh na 100 míle hálear as an tír seo. Chuid Jacob mar saidúirí, chuid eile mar seirbhísí, ach chuid is mó go beidir mar slábhathe.
Nuair atá tú ag caint faoin ceangal idir éire agus an cuid seo den lán, tá tú caint faoi srothanna agsúile agus ag seasamh Té feardas na srothanna sin tá tábhacht an class system an achna agus an puinte den stair meon an choilíneachas. the savage world of the colonizer.
Dem mbliana ó hin, bhí an Grian Graffador Éireannach Síne Jolly ag obair iscoil in Iarthar Barbados. Spraig an pobl féarún sin í le dul ag fisrú fuatha agus an méid a chonig sí a hafada.
I first met the Redlegs because I was living in Barbados and working there. I knew of their existence because people talked about them, and occasionally I'd see them walking along the road barefooted, obviously very poor, and hauling coconuts up the hill in Newcastle in St. John. And initially I went in, they were quite suspicious of me, but I was on my own, I was female, and I had worked there, so they allowed me to talk to them, and the more time I spent with them, the more I got to know them. I knew that their ancestors came from Scotland and Ireland. When I talked to Bajan friends, they really knew very little about the current population, the poor whites that have been left behind, basically.
Sétí chuige cúig né léon ahraach gur cuireadh daoine ascáileas as níor go dtí an Caribbean. Níor tháinig siad an a cuireadh tóga gas an áit féiniad. It's victims iad an dispossession. Tá chuirseastrinte mí deire for sétí chuige cúig.
Is dólam nach raibh mar an ólas an ábhar sin, agus nach mííon starí na hÉireann ag caint faoi go mór. Níl sé múntha sna hallscoil nó na scolanna go minic.
Ina lán slite, is at an rudé go bhfuil cinenne geal beo bocht i Barbados áid le 40 bliain ina gcílíonn an cricin geal an rachmas a gcónaí. Ó hús na 70 déag, faoin se úntaach sebhris agus cóchta a bhí sa charib, agus mórrán cholínachtaí eile sa dáman nua, de bhuairchóchtaí taiscilíochta na hórpa, go háirithe na Francaigh, Ollónaigh, Spáinigh agus Sasanigh. Tháinig na céad cholínathe go Barbados is 75, taiscéalathe agus cionródathe thóir an rachmis le gabháiltis beaga talún ag fástabach agus cadás, Sasanigh a bheith a bhordmhór.
An dús sin é ó tús na 70 gar aig de bhí spéisiigh flandóirí Gaelach chun flandálathe chuir ban í Barbados. Agus de bhí géargáil le searabhánsaí mar ní rá éon loch séthar ar fáil ins na hiláin ag an puinte sin ar Curbe.
Tháinig na hÉireanna gitasach mar Herbhísigh, ach chus níidir ag teacht mar sclávathe tar éis de Oliver Cromwell a naide is Sasna agus an Alban a cheansú agus a áard a dhíriú ar Éireann. Idir 70 agus 72, chail Éireann breis leat á déanra, cuid faoin chliamh, cuid eile faoi folasaí a bhí úsáid go hanéifeachta ag Cromwell in áiteanna eile, aistrú chuig na colínachtaí.
Tá galar, tá coga in Éireann ag an dréimhse sin, agus tá gurta mór an freisin. Tá cosúilteacht ar an scéal gúil gá cineál daoine curtha go dtí Barbados sa tréimhse sin. I dúspóire tá muid a caint faoi daoine bochta, an loch déirce, daoine nach bhfuil áit cóntha a cub. Na daoine eile a chur thar lear ná na daoine a feicú mar contúirteacht an stáit.
Cromwell decided that what he was basically going to do was send those Irish that he deemed the most troublesome to the Caribbean.
Come on!
His initial policy had been to push Irish Catholics off their land and into the province of Connacht. When some didn't follow that kind of persuasion, I suppose, or those who were continuing to cause trouble for the English were shipped out across the ocean.
Agus de bhí mná agus páistí I gceist chumá le íorsaid dúirí ina measc, ach searabhánsaí a bhí gceist an sin, agus searabhánsaí a chuir gur fáil dus na Flandóirí Sasanach a bhí bhaim mar I gentusíoch siúcra bhí ar siúla I Barbados ag an tam sin.
Bégan den na hérannig aistrithe díntúra híú, ag díala chuid ibre le plandálathe sa dá nua ar fe achar áirithe ama. Ag deireadh na tréimhse sin dá mar a dís beo, bhí go bhfáiltas talún gealtadóibh. Níor a bhiú tránaín na díntúir sin áfach. Níl Barbados ach lech chomór le chunta lú, agus bhí an talamh a bhí le bronna ag na Sasnaigh ag deireadh na gonarthaí ibre, chena féin tócha agus barí luach for a cortha an.
Bhí daine an náróling, bhí daine an a rinn brabach as an rud a bhí ar siúltar an Colínachas. Bhí daine lean agus bhí an mar sótscláfathe, na'n dinseart servants, bhí an ar a bhéin ráhacha, bhí is súil an alman tabach mé a cúpont déag beidir nó písa talún acha rodnar fúrsiad.
Credum go bhfuil sé aontocht tábhachtach go dtíochtaí na céas a dánaigh siad. Agus an rud a rinne an impracht I mhuairm se, gear siad an ceangal nó an dúchas nó an éireacht a bhí an tuiscint a bhíochaigh na daine sin ar ceas a dánadar. Mar credid ar go raibh sé antábhachtach nach dtíocht na daine go raibh sean cultúr, go raibh sean tradiisiún na baint lethb, agus in dheála sin nach mbeadh siad ach mar sclábthe amachchan seo.
Ní rá éon conra idir sa Sláví ó Africa, ní rá éon ceartainna ag na Sláví sin ar Curbe, de bhí siad ceangailta go dtí uair amháis. Ó déobh an conra idir searabháin as an tíir seo mar hampla, de bhí sé ar feadh 3 bliana nó 4 bliana nó 7 bliana, agus ag an puinte sin de bhí saoirse acab faoin de lí. Agus ag fecandar an scéal fés or a bhí sé Barbados, de bhí an formhórdíobh mar a bheith an puinte sin, ar a bhí an saoirse bhí ceart go méocht saoirse acab, tuis go raibh sé chun neamhláán túil sin.
Cumátaí na deorathe a seacail faoin deic ar aistear a bhar éanaí idir 8 agus 10 seachtainaí. Bhí na conílacha chomhalc sin gur chaile go lánacha a bhd sular thuistear an carib. Níl cúntas ar bith ar an slíon ar chana tradálathe lena lastas airnach, ach tá isaghain cad a bhí rompa nar a thuistear an Tilán, a bhuíochas sin le Richard Ligon a dail sig A True and Exact History of the Island of Barbados is 67. Tá an talamh Fred Smith ó Ollscoil William and Mary, Virginia, I mbun tochailte seandálaíoch in Barbados. Tá sé ag obair lena bhic léinn chun tuiscint a áil ar na tuairiscí I leabhar Richard Ligon a chur an sios ar an meallach inar thris na hairnaigh an Tilán, agus mar a bhí ortha a nídan féin a thógáil.
Upon the arrival of any ship, the planters go aboard, and having bought such of them as they like, send them with a guide to his plantation, and being come, commands them instantly to make their cabins, which they not knowing how to do, are to be advised by other of their servants that are their seniors. But if they be churlish and will not show them, or if material be wanting to make them cabins, then they are to lie on the ground that night. These cabins are to be made of sticks with some plantain leaves under some little shade that may keep the rain off. Their suppers being a few potatoes and water and mobby for drink. The next day they are rung out with a bell to work at 6 o'clock in the morning, till the bell ring again, which is 11 o'clock, and then they return and are set to dinner, either with a mess of loblolly, bonavist, or potatoes.
The réir starathe na linge, nar a thógtaí na hairnaigh aistrithe os na longa a deach, fiochtaí an drama barasta, agus díalach na conarthaí díreach mar a dhéan fé le sclávathe ón Afric, cé go raibh na hairnaigh in anam is cosant éigean a bheitcha mar thuirmhísigh din túirithe. Agus bíoch is go raibh an caighdeán dídan agus bí an ísildóibh ba bheasa fós an scéalacha dá mrisidís an rial balú. Bhí dhearadh na 65, hí na mílte éarnach aistrithe ó éráid bhog túisceart na Hórpa go teas marafach nimhnach Barbados. Cé go raibh cuid beagdaí bheith arnáil an chuid airgid trí bheith ag anmharú siúchra arás go dtí an bhreatain, bhí a bhormhór sáinithe in Ifrin Ileán Barbados gan dóchas.
This island is the dunghill, whereon England doth cast forth its rubbish. Rogues and whores and such like people are those which are generally brought here in the most unsupportable captivity, grinding at the mills, attending the furnaces, or digging in the scorching island, having nothing to feed on but potato roots. Bought and sold from one planter to another, or attached as horses and beasts for the debts of their masters, being whipped at the whipping posts as rogues for their master's pleasure.
The Africans are accustomed to the climate. These people were not. That is why bond servants didn't really last in Barbados, because they died off too quickly. Furthermore, if you only have the use of a bond servant for 5 or 6 years, you get everything you can out of him. If you have a slave, you have him for life. So you're likely to pay more attention to him. That doesn't mean the blacks didn't suffer. They suffered a lot.
I have seen an overseer beat a servant with a cane about the head till the blood has followed, for a fault that is not worth the speaking of. Truly, I have seen such cruelty there done to servants as I did not think one Christian could have done to another.
Tagan sé glúndeag the winter and Olive Carol Watson in Barbados as Éireann, de roistig ó chorcaig a baiad ar dús. Sé siúd príomhstarí an Ileán ar chuirsaí an chinne ghealmhocht.
It didn't matter if you were an indentured servant or a slave. If you were subjected to a severe whipping, the whip cracked equally severely on a white back, just as it did on a black back. They were treated equally horrifically and suffered equal horrific punishments.
Má cathag có holc sin leis na mílte éirnig sa seachtú hísteag, conas mar sin nach bhfuil éon chormach ag daoine ar an scéal in Éireann inniuh.
Well, history has two levels. History seen from above, from the point of view of the powerful, and history seen from below. And usually those from below were either illiterate and hence left no written records of their daily lives or their experiences. It was as if, well, they were there, but they did not exist. So they would be proverbial invisible people of the 17th century.
Is anamh a ágan na buicht fianaise a saoil in a níag. Scoban sperlingi chun siúla, agus glanan lucht an rachmas amachas an staré go deo. Tá Fred Smith agus a Vic Lane thóir éon íneise ar gnásail le húil na tréna dearúta seo. Is léir go raibh saoil an chinne ghealmhocht anchosúil le saoil na sclávathe gormas na léhananta tosaigh, acma seachas cinenne a bheith an difríocht. Ní mór tochailt go dainn san áid íomhann seo chun fianaise a áil ar chruatan.
The archaeological work that we've been doing here has been focused on trying to get a general sense of plantation life. And here at St. Nicholas Abbey, there seems to be a preponderance of bowl forms and a greater emphasis on bowls than on flatware plates. And this probably reflects the emphasis on stewed foods, whereas the planter's house has a great deal more flatware associated probably with roasts and other types of foods.
De na redlegs airnacha na béaltaí suúracha chéine leis na sclávathe gorma. Béasca das na plandálathe Sevre, céadfaí a loch dibre a cheansú le seach harga flúirseach a chanig an Brussels siúcra, rum.
Rum today is the second most widely consumed alcoholic beverage in the world, but in the 17th century and the 18th century, it was really a drink of enslaved peoples, of poor whites, indentured servants, of seamen. Life was very challenging, especially the disease environment in early Barbados, in which many people were dying from a variety of tropical diseases, hurricanes, earthquakes, a difficult place to live, especially if you were poor or enslaved. And so rum really kind of helped meet the challenges of daily life in Barbados and provided a temporary escape.
Scríobh Colínach Lua Awan Gdina Ahar.
To send out 50 cases of good spirit, and make no question than that you will have great gains from them. They are generally such drunkards on this island that they will find coppers to buy their drinks, although they go without themselves. I have seen, upon the Sabbath day as I have been walking to church, first one, presently another, lying in the highway so drunk that there be land crabs that have bit off some of their fingers, some of their toes, and have killed some before they have wakened.
They drank heavily. In fact, that was a common feature among these whites. You know, they consume vast quantities of alcohol. So obviously that would have had some effect on the overall health, you know, many years later.
It was logical for the people of the time to conclude that overconsumption of rum led to this laziness and this inability to work hard, and the whole pejorative stereotype that developed associated with poor whites. But actually there are medical reasons that explain some of the debilities. A large percentage of the poor whites of Barbados who were too poor to have shoes, and so who worked bare feet in their fields, etc., picked up parasitic infections, particularly hookworm infections. And somebody with masses of hookworms in their body wouldn't be able to respond well to situations, would stumble, slouch, move very slowly, and being seen sort of like the village idiot.
Enslaved Africans who didn't drink as much as the poor whites, they had family networks. They had large communities of people that could work together, and sort of community networks that would help ease the challenges of everyday life. Whereas poor whites tended to live sort of on the outskirts of communities, very little opportunities for upward mobilities, and as a result, sort of lost themselves in drinking.
Part of the issue was that the whites remained by themselves. And so you had a situation where there was quite a bit of intermarrying. You would have had quite a lot of families marrying each other, first or second cousins marrying each other. It was frowned upon for a white female to marry a black guy. So they married predominantly white men. And of course, the whole issue of incest. I mean, it's not a nice thing to speak about, but that obviously happened in those type of communities.
If one looks very quickly at the demographic patterns and racial patterns of Barbados over time, Barbados started as a white majority colony, but by the 1660s it had become a black majority, where about 60% of the population was black and 40% was white. And what they did with this large poor white population on the island was they used it as a buffer group between themselves and the black slave population. And during the period of slavery, the poor white population was critical to the status and success and, if you like, peace of mind of the planter class.
1640s, you might have had maybe 4,000 or 5,000 black slaves, but by 1660 you had about 60,000 slaves, and the population moved down to about 10,000 whites and 60,000 blacks. So they need to have some form of militia or military for internal security. And the laws were made that for every 30 acres of land you had to have one able-bodied white man to serve in the militia.
Cinse de bhí daoine bán ag tastáil chun ord agus agar a chamad agus chun gombeach iluant acha bhí gúrsaí bhíleata chun seasa bhí gine éon éirí amach, mar de bhí sinne an fattíos a bhí ach of gáinnig gan éireach na slábhí amach in a cuineb.
Ach bíad na Hairnig in Barbados an dram dernach go mbeadh muinínig Sasannig asta. Bhí Sasanna Puritánach agus Protestúnach ba Catlaigh na Hairnig, bhí cáil ortha mar gcuine a bhí a gcónaí réig le hairí a gcuine a maistrí.
Bhí na Spáinnig agus na Francaigh congarach go leor den na Highláin seo. Agus faoi cinnte gur atias an údaras na Highláin gimach na Hairnig a bhí ann, gimach siad sásta córéitú a dhéanamh leis na Francaigh agus leis na Spáinnig inionad an pobl Sasanach a bhí ann.
Beidir ahras na húdaráisiil, mar hampla tuisc go raibh na Hairnig agus bhíidir mar móra bheith tús an seachta raibh tús optúisteag go rádar Catalaigh agus go mála sin ceapal go rádar báil don Franc mar hampla. So I gcónaí bhí na húdaráisiil smáige London a bhíidir ahrasan faoin na Hairnig.
Is cinnte tá scéalta ann gur tháinig sagart go dtí Barbados agus chur a muoich iad go scopaí. Mar bhí fatias an údaras gimach siad an féinúlacht catalachach sin na chothú.
Le cosc ortha a greidirh a chleachta, ní raibh fácha de clú ar na Hairnig seo ach a gcumas chun tribloide.
Indeed, sales of plantations and mortgages and so on, where the white servants are listed by name because they're part of the property. You'll find John Maguire and in brackets Irish. They were expected to give trouble.
Manister St. Nicholas an teach plandála is sinne ar an Ileán. Ten sé siar go 68. Go dtí beag nach 19 rinneadh siúcra agus Roma tháirgeadh an le haig asportála agus déanfar a ríis. Cheannig Larry Warren altar de bhunna an chinnig gealbhacht St. Nicholas chun gnóthas leantach a dhéanamhas, ach freisin mar lí le hamós a thuairt tas na glúnta idir geal agus gorum de bhaintear Barbados.
That mill is an embodiment of St. Nicholas because at one stage in Barbados there were 110 or more of those mills in the island, and that's the last remaining one. Just by fate it was preserved. But that mill was really destined to be scrapped, and then Colonel Cave, who was the owner here, and someone with the Canadian government got together and they preserved it and brought it here. In many respects, a lot of the people that do go to Barbados feel so comfortable there, they just don't go beyond to know the history of Barbados. Of course, since owning St. Nicholas, I've read books on it and quite amazed at the period around 1650 in Oliver Cromwell and how he, in fact, transported all of these poor Irish people here to become slaves and, in fact, were treated as bad or even worse, you know.
Dibrig Winston Gill, mar bhair seoir, a Manister St. Nicholas le trucha bliain.
To most black people, they think they were the only ones that were in slavery. But to some person who understand and know history is that all two races was in slavery, the white and the black. And the white was the first slave in Barbados. But in the 17th century, a lot of the white people that were doing manual labor on the estates were driven off in preference to black because their production was not as great as the black. So then they went on to, some went on to America, some went on to other Caribbean islands. Well, the ones that stayed still continued to weather the storm on the island. The white people were mainly centered around Bath and St. John, Churchill, and that area.
Ach, cén obair a bhí ann dus na Hairnig bhachta seo a bhí gan sealúchas ná dóchas.
The women of the militia tenants also earned some money because, of course, each plantation had the contractual or economic responsibility to supply clothes, etc., for the slave population. And so many of these white women were employed as seamstresses, etc.
Buineann na bochtáin fór as gach enrod, mar a fuair Fred Smith amach I grit seo teaghlach bhíliiste.
Here you can see even better the coral rubble construction techniques that were used building these houses. These were just coral rubble that were picked up from the ground, surrounding bedrock, pieced together using a lime plaster mortar that would sort of bake the limestone, get it into a powdery form, add water, and that would be the basis for sort of concrete in those days. And it's a very strong construction technique, as you can see. Perhaps the most interesting finds were these tiny pieces of ceramic that had been whittled down into what are gaming pieces. These were probably used for chess or for backgammon. We've also found a large number of buttons, which suggests that perhaps somebody at some time at this house may have been a seamstress or a tailor.
Deirg an scéal níos measa don chinnegeal bhocht eiste go leor in ag fuascailte 1834. Bhí sclábhathe a rinne printíiseachtaí ábalta a daithí agus a scileanna a eistriú go dtí an marga séir. Ní raibh na scileanna sin ag na redlegs agus ar aon chuma ní raibh fáinórtha obair a dhéanamh a thabhliadar leis na sclábhathe gorma. Bhrachadar iad féin níos cosúlaí leis na plandálathe Sèvres, dram nach raibh simdá liadacha anta.
During slavery, the slaves were not supposed to do anything skilled. But of course, they were skilled carpenters or did all sorts of skilled work, but they weren't supposed to. At emancipation, the blacks were able to do anything they wanted. And the poor whites had a very rough time.
Almost immediately at emancipation, the plantation owners said, we no longer need militia tenants. The freed people will no longer receive clothing from us. And so we don't need these white seamstresses anymore to produce this clothing. And they just ordered them off the plantation.
Curtha asáid, bégan dus na daoine gealla bochta mar achtant sna chattel houses mar amíoch na sclábhathe. Déad hí na tithe aimid séire seo nach bhaitear áitar be ach a Barbados a eistriú ó Flandáil amháin go Plandáil eile agus na hibrithe ar thóir ibre a bhí gán.
They would walk half over the island to demand alms, or depend for their subsistence on the charity of slaves. Yet they are as proud as Lucifer himself, and in virtue of their freckled ditchwater faces, consider themselves on a level with every gentleman in the island.
Ach, níor an gach Red Lake bocht. Tá Richard Goddard a rinne den na daoine gnó is Sèvres in Barbados, agus anbhródúil go deo as a éireacht Red Lake. Hiú le cheanna th cosnocht isteach sa bhaile mór, doscail siúpa rom agus thóg imparacht. Ach siar san 8ú ísteag, cumad an grá ag duine dá hínsir de chalín Gaelach dar a bennim Margaret Mahan, muintear Goddard bocht ar feadh na cliente.
We can't find anything about her, but from her name, we suspect that she was Roman Catholic and Irish. And it's at those times they were bringing Irish women over here as partners for the planters, and they were looked down as the lower castes, if I can use that word. And that was the way he marries a woman, and Goddard then is read out of the family fortune. This photograph of 9 fishermen on Bath Beach was taken about 1908. They were black and white fishermen. And the one on the back row to the right is Thomas Henry Goddard, and that would be my grandfather's uncle. And you'll notice that they're all wearing crocus bags, which is a jute bag, where head and shoulders were cut out, and they were all barefooted. There's a bottle of rum on the ground, which I suspect that they were probably bribed to stand still for the photograph. And I remember my brother-in-law telling me that once he asked my grandfather, who was now in his 80s, Mr. Joe, tell me about the good old days when you were a boy. And my grandfather started to cry. And he said, no, Dennis, they were not good days. I wouldn't wish them on my worst enemy. I knew what it was like to be hungry, sick, no job, no opportunity. And all those good days. In 1834, when the police force was formed and the military tenants really were then put off the land, they weren't needed any longer. And these people who had been on those as military tenants for probably 150 years.
Chuig a bhormhór chun chonaí faoi ailte Hackleton, áit a raibh an talamh cóthulc sin go raibh an cias an ísel. Chun stac mór sosiálta agus fisiciúil ba é chonaí faoi na hailte sin. Bhí trí áit in a bhéiteach na bochtáin bána drapa suas, thugtaí monkey jump ar ceann de na pointí ba Iacradíomh.
Over there to my right, where the coconut trees are, is the base of monkey jump. It would come up probably about 200 yards. You have to come on all fours, and then at times in crop you would carry cane on your head, probably bundles of eight canes, probably weighed 40 or 50 pounds, and you got $1.44 or 6 shillings for a ton of cane. They were living here because that's where land was cheapest. It was very rocky, it was not suitable for cultivation for the plantations, and they would pay about $8 per acre per year rent. But down here you really got it for $4. It was just so bad, it just didn't produce. You had to plant among the stones to get some form of a crop. It was extremely hard. I don't think that many of them knew much about their forebears. They knew they'd come from Scotland or Ireland. Their little world, even to go to town. Some people had lived their whole life here and never been to Bridgetown.
Beagán th 50 míle ó Bridgetown tá a slucht fósán ag marachtáil ar an Gaelchud. An trabh éarnach is mó ghfuil dearúd déanta ortha. Ach, conas tá an saolacha anois dá riire. Tá aithne ag an grianghafadóir Sína Jolly ar na Redlegs in Martins Bay le blianta. Anois tá sí ar ais ag ghlacha pictiúraí den phobal seo atá ag dul liad.
The poor whites have been suppressed since the 17th century. They were looked down upon by the blacks and by the better off whites. That hadn't changed in 2000. I'm pleased to say that since I've come back 8 years later, I think there's a huge change there. And I think before there was very little integration between the blacks and the whites. When I photographed Erlene Downey in 2000, she actually lived in a stone house, but there was no running water, no electricity. And once a week she boiled water to wash herself. Life was hard. She was collecting coconuts, splitting the husks and selling those to a nursery to grow orchids. She was in her 70s. She was very fit. So it was interesting for me to re-photograph her. Perhaps her life was easier in some ways, but her living circumstances were dreadful. They were worse. But she was still happy. In spite of all that adversity, she was still smiling and still telling jokes.
When I come along, I find all the family living here, but your all ancestors come from overseas. I only know my great-grandmother. I only hear a bit from her that how her parents come from these islands and so, you know.
Drafúracha iad Joyce agus Nita le Erlene Downey, a waren freshen at Chattel House in Martins Bay.
I love my fishing. Funny amateurs, funny rocks, you throw a line and just toss up my line to catch my fish. I keep my fish for me to eat. Especially at night when you see draw. I get a lantern and I go and you see and catch lobsters too. Right, sir.
I want two grapefruits.
My lady, there's a stick up there and a knife up there.
Tá gealach ar málartathe a bhaimig na Redlegs. Tachaí an gachéine lena chéile. Bahí an cuidecha mocha, fás an cuidéile breadfruit, déan an cuidecha iascach fós. Atathe mar an siad mar éanad mar phobal.
In my years gone by, I never taught us nothing, so, you know, like our roots and things, we never, so that where we really arrived from.
They try hiding the roots.
Because like your grandparents or your parents never sit down, right? And like you would try to form a conversation and ask them certain questions like which part of your parents are arrived from, you know? They say, all of them say them say. You understand? So we can't go no more, we can't ask no more.
All the youngsters nowadays just looking at you and saying, oh, you is this and that. Just get to know you first and then make a judgment.
You still got a lot of racism here though, because first thing you start about your skin and things. And you know, like, they try to keep you down and things like for years gone back, you know, like slavery days and all that kind of foolishness that stating out that we is who the boy that
cause slavery.
Cause them to be slaves and things, you know. They still try to keep you down, I think.
But I just have one thing to tell them. I just asked them where I was born 400 years ago. I don't know about slavery. I come into the free next.
My name is Eustace Norris. Well, I understand from my old parents, my family came as slaves, white slaves. That's all I know. There were any plantations. My old grandfather, they were in the land. They were in the land. My father worked in the land, in the factory making sugar. Well, they had to put them on the shelter because they couldn't stand the heat. I worked in the plantation overseas. I ride the fields and do the books, you know. What I love about it, we're born here. I'm born here, so this is my little island.
I understand my family came here by slave ship. And they was working as slaves, and then from there, they went on, you know, the skin can take the sun. So they had colored people then came in. But all my family, from the time I was growing up, was with the land. They worked the land, they prepare food, but they never went to the supermarkets and things for everything they want to eat. They grow it themselves. I go to St. Margaret's Church. I church at St. John's sometimes, or sometimes I go to different religion. I don't keep one religion. I keep everybody that connect with the Almighty.
My life story, as far as I can remember, I born in a place such as like a jungle, the woods, Clifton Hall Woods. And my father and mother was pretty poor, raised up in a small 18 by 10 wooden house, which we call a charter house. When I was a youngster, I used to go in the same Clifton Hall potato ground after the dig and sell the potatoes, and they had sprouts coming up. I used to go and help dig some, and when you was hungry, parents unable to feed you, I had to eat some of them raw, and you had to eat them kind of things to survive. But the little education I did get, I got it by trying to read newspapers and comic books, and then I started to get education, and then by working a cash machine, giving back change and different things like that, I got the little education I have. But I just relax at home now, join a little pension from the government. It ain't a big lot, but it was shake the puppy tail from out the ashes.
And the Irish diaspora is seen as a real part of our national wealth, a national asset, if you want to use that phrase. I think that there could be significant benefits in Ireland and Barbados, getting to know each other better and resurfacing the connections that are actually there. I mean, there are people in the United States who would probably claim Irish passports, certainly say they're Irish, and they wouldn't be as closely connected to Ireland as many Bajans would be.
Le déanaí, tá ceangal á dhéanamh ag daoine ar ais in éireann lena Ghaeilge sa Charib. Bhí an tathair Jim Finn agus David Shirley, páirteach an grúpa a hín lámh amach go muintir Bhucht Barbados. Agus bhrá David nar ága cheangal le Cromwell ein roa eile aige.
The Countess of Huntington was Lady Shirley, and some of the Shirleys had come to Ireland with Cromwell. And then when I started to hear the story of Barbados and some of the atrocities that were committed there, that really stirred my heart.
That's her husband.
I can't undo what was done 350 years ago, but I can stop something of that repeating itself into the future.
I felt here were people really that had been forgotten. Here were people who were on the margins of society and were at the bottom rung of society. And then when I kind of read the piece of history, how they were rounded up and brought out there and what had happened to them, I felt that we needed to redeem the situation. We needed to inform them who they were.
On the picture there you see me with an Irish flag because of the people that died without an Irish identity. They died without an identity, any identity. If you see the difference between St. John's Church and St. Margaret's Church, the gravestones there were absolute monuments in comparison to the little wooden crosses that were rotting away down in the other place. And you could see how they were able to put value on their people and remember them, but then the poor people, there was no value put on them.
A pedagul spirit achab ta intach tábhacht ta ancasúla spirit muinte na héireann. Gar ineall an andro, an drohíde, agus na faiban í mór a bhí achab. Gar airló marachtáil, tá spirit sin láidir a measc na daine sin fós am thuairimse.
Caite I ddír ag an stair. Is beag dát ná gur héad ghaithe trádála an Atlantic slucht na néireann na cheastra histin is teach a bhásach chultúrtha ar feadh 200 bliain nó níos mó. De thromlach an déanra Gordon Bajan is pobal taobhsúiliad na Red Lakes. Is beag atá ólas acu faoin na gcórsan na geala agus foic faoin na scéal namhnách. Má ceaptar ó am go chéile gur turasóirí ar siara ólachán iad na Red Lakes buinean cuid na Milan lena sínsir a bhí sásta cinenne aránú th acma ó thaobh na féinúlachta de. Ní dhéanaigh an gluúin nua an botún chéana, tuigeann siad gur 6 chórá idir chuoine agus athrú a bhún líon 4 féinúlacht. Tá garfáistí ar sínsir tultanach san lá atá nuamháin, bheith ar an bán chéana mar Hiránig Barbados le chuile drám eile ar an Ileán áling seo.
Black or white, we're all one. And I don't think colour should really be a discrimination. The gentleman there, Herbert, the brown-skinned guy, we were married November, it's 40 years. At first, some of my family from my father's side, they didn't like the idea of me getting married to him. But I had to let them know it is me. And I think if it is my happiness, then it should be okay. And so far, no regrets. Well, my oldest granddaughter, and she's heading on to university. But all she's telling me is, Granny, don't to worry. One good day, you're going to be out of this. I'm going to help you. That's all she's telling me. That's my oldest grand. And I'm very proud of her. And I feel good, that's for sure. I don't mind what people think. I feel good. And I feel proud of who I am.